Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Fan Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Huh? So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Hey, yo, y'all know me, Pops Fans Ant from the Madness Comic Network. The Madness Comic Network coming to Roku. You can check out our preview channel right there, right now. Look, we're bringing all of our content to Roku. I'm excited. You should be too. A shout out to Hart Fisher at the American Horse Channel, baby. Woo! You know what's up.
Flip City Magazine is just really pulling out all the stops, man. Your guys' production value of this magazine has gone insane. I mean, look at that. I mean, I remember when you guys, it was black and white. Even when it was black and white, I thought your quality was great. But damn, they have just, I mean, they just really stepping it up a notch. Look at this. James Corbett, boys. James Corbett.
Genuinely cutting, but also funny, and obviously just chaotic and very fun.
I love Flip City. It has brought new types of badassery and integrity to the print medium.
Welcome to Mobamalls. Mafia Animals Poker Playing Cards. Make 100. Where real-life mobsters meet the wild side. Let's dive into the intriguing world of this unique deck. Meet Carmine the Snake Persico and Vincent Mad Dog Call. Real-life mobsters with fascinating stories. Mobamalls takes these characters and transforms them into their animal nickname counterparts. Introducing a 55-card poker-sized deck featuring 52 of your favorite mobsters reimagined as animals. Each card is a dedication to a different real-life mobster, complete with their name, nickname, affiliation, and birth-death years. But that's not all. This limited edition print run includes exclusive items like poker chips, signed decks, whiskey glasses, challenge coins, and even handmade Mobamal plushies. Don't miss your chance to be part of this limited edition experience. Back Mobimals, Mafia Animals Poker Playing Cards. Make 100 on Kickstarter now. Let's bring these mobster animals to life together.
What is Path of the Pale Rider anyway? Is it a comic book? No, that's not it. Is it this? What the heck is Path of the Pale Rider, man? There's no way this is right. How about this? I have no idea.
We don't rob a bank.
Oh, it's this.
The Madness Comic Network and Comic-Related Madness proudly presents Madness Tuesday Morning Brew. Tune in to our content on Comic Talk with Pops Van Zandt on YouTube.
Good morning. Do you know what day it is? It's Flippin' Tuesday. Woo! We made it through Monday. That's key, everybody. It's been an interesting week, and it's only Tuesday. Got some sick kids. Right before we started the show, my power went out and came back on, so the computer's acting funny. So I apologize if there's any kind of technical difficulties in the show. I didn't have a chance to do a full restart of the computer right before we started. I wanted the show to be on time. So hopefully we won't have any issues. We're just going to push some of the buttons, not all of the buttons today. At least that's the plan. Path of the Pale Rider. Let's see updates. Marco has finished all of his pages. I have finished all of my pages. Matt Chambers is coloring the last out. He finished one, so there's 3 pages left. And then we should be done. He's thinking Thursday, and then it's going to go to Rachel for editing. So a couple more days, and we'll have issue 4 digitals out for everybody. I'm already planning the trade paperback. We're getting, gearing up for that. I got a book podcast now. Whee! If you want me to come on your show and talk about Path of the Pale Rider trade paperback, February, March, you just let me know. I'm happy to come on. Carissa. I was going to talk about Carissa because, she's my bestie, which, by the way, her campaign is almost done. So if you haven't had a chance to go check out Worthy Chaos, please go check them out. It's getting a little crazy at the end, as it always does, but show her some love. So Carissa, as we all know, is the merch queen, and she does these plushies. She has introduced plushies to the indie comic scene. I don't think anybody was doing them before her. And I was on the fence, and I didn't, I don't want to copy anybody, and it's her thing. So for a long time, I didn't want to. But Carissa was like, listen, I need I need a Big James plushie. So we did them. They're so cool. I have 10 of these that are going to be on the next campaign. There's 2 different pledge levels, so there'll be 5 on each pledge level. But I have a feeling these are going to go quick because people are already asking me to save them for them. I can't save any. They go on the campaign and that's it. If there's some left after the campaign, then we could fight over them. Because you think I don't want one? My daughter has already claimed, if there's one, she has claimed it. I don't think even I get one. So anywho, so those are all in, all 10 of them. I'm excited. We got more merch coming, which I'll show off soon for the next campaign. But I'm really looking forward to wrapping up number 4, getting that printed and in everybody's hands so then they can continue reading the story. But enough about me. Let's talk about this week's guest. Glenn Flemming. What a guy. He's actually been following the Brew since before I took over as host. I was on here as a panelist because we had like 6, 9 people on. And I remember when I took over the show, how it was still a panel and it was always Glenn that was like, hey, Laurie, I want to hear more you. It's too loud. There's too much going on. And he was 100% right. And it really influenced the way that we took the show. We started having more intimate conversations with creators. And so, Glenn, you've influenced the Tuesday Morning Brew, just like you've probably influenced so many other things. So I'm going to bring him on. I know he's chuckling in the back. Don't blush, sir. Hi, how are you?
I'm okay. That must be the longest introduction known in history. Not from me. I mean, the whole thing, right, from the adverts right all the way through.
Aw, but
Yes,
I meant every word. You're just, I'm sure you're amazing, illustrious career, been around for long, and it influenced so many things.
Well, the scary thing now, I can put influencer on, can't I? On mine.
You probably could.
I'm not
sure about social
that.
media influencer, but definitely comic influencer.
Well, maybe. So yeah, it's nice to be here anyway, finally.
Yes. Yeah, and I know like you've been in the chat and you said, "Oh, I want to come on the show." And I'm like, "Why haven't we made that happen?" So we did finally. I was like, "Yeah, we need to just book you on the show on a date that works." And because I get booked, like 2 months in advance. So I was like, "Let's get Glenn in, in the rotation early in the year and then we can go from there." Let me see here. Yeah, I don't have any links for Glenn at the moment, Pops. He's asking for links. So we usually start the show talking about the origin story. So everybody that comes on has to start at the beginning. So when did you start reading comics, get into comics? What influenced you? Like, let's talk about that.
Well, I would imagine, I'm so old, you see, I would imagine that I started reading comics when I was about 5 or 6. That would be Eagle and Dan Dare. I had 2 older brothers, and they would bring comic. I was only a kid, obviously. I was only a nipper, as we would say. And they would buy the Eagle and the Beano and the Dandy. I don't really have heard of these comics. Topper, Hotspur, Commando, all these kind of things. And see, when I was small, television was new, and I just used to like reading a lot, and I used to read comics, and then I started reading novels when I was about 11, and I've always been able to draw. There's one thing I've always been able to do, it's draw, and I've always been able to draw maybe a little better than my classmates, type of thing. Because if there was anything to be drawn at school, I would get the gig. I never really wanted it, but I would get the gig.
Right? I draw this sign.
Yeah.
Mascot.
I was even asked, and I did, to design and draw the girls' uniforms for school.
That's funny.
Which was
and what age were you when that happened?
I was about 13.
That's crazy.
And the last thing on my mind when I was 13 was girls, and I had to sit with these girls in my class. And draw, but I was just had my nose in the Fantastic Four at that point, and Spider-Man, that kind of thing. But yeah, I've always been able to draw, and not to get on a soapbox, but I think the best thing that anybody can do is learn to read.
Yes.
Right. And you can't.
Yes.
People say read and write. Well, I don't think you can write if you can't read, can you? Because you wouldn't know what you were putting down. So you need to learn to read. And then I wrote my first book when I was about 8. Now, when I say book, that was 20 pages in an exercise book, which is pretty good for an 8-year-old, isn't it?
Yeah.
And
I mean, you got to start somewhere. We're not expecting you to write, like
that's right. And I don't have that. I've not seen that for a long time because my mum had this really great gift for throwing out all my artwork and comics. So that's another story. I wrote this book when I was about 8, and it was about Stingray. Have you seen Stingray? Jerry Anderson's Stingray, the marionette.
No.
I mean, you've seen Thunderbirds.
Yes.
Well, it's nearly as good as Thunderbirds.
Okay.
And it was the series before Thunderbirds. You should check it out. It's really good. So I'd wrote this story with those characters in it, and then I just used to draw all the time, and I started writing and reading novels and stuff like that. Because by the time I was 14, I was reading Isaac Asimov stuff, and Ray Bradbury and that kind of thing.
A little deeper.
Yeah, and in different ways, yeah.
Right,
and,
Fahrenheit 451, and
yeah,
so
that's
more
right.
like really deep science fiction, and then Asimov. My goodness.
See, I've never been a fan of science fantasy, which I think is like, to me, is sort of Lord of the Rings type of thing.
Yeah, like Tolkien.
I don't like that kind of stuff.
Gotcha.
But I prefer Star Trek over Star Wars.
Interesting. Yeah, it's more science based.
Yeah, more real.
Yeah, I agree.
But I mean, I could tell you a story about Lord of the Rings. I mean, I'm well known for my dislike of it. I could never. Well, I'll just do a quick recap because I've said this a million times. When I was I read lots of things. I like reading. I read the cornflakes packet. I read everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are saying to me, this is in the late 60s, people are saying to me, you should read Tolkien and Lord of the Rings and all that stuff. So I looked at it and I read a bit. And then this guy says to me, I didn't understand it, all these stupid names. And if there's one thing I can't stand, it's when you pick up a book and there's a map in it. And it's got the aging hills and Murder Valley, all that garbage. Anyway. So
well, they went on a certain path that the readers want to know.
I know
how they got there, like in relation to each other. Maybe I don't know. Maybe to help them visualize
the unpassable swamp, and they get past it. So it's not, is it? Anyway, so this guy says I couldn't understand what was going on. It was really boring, and I gave up. And this guy said to me, "You should read The Hobbit because that will explain the characters more." So I went out.
Worse.
I went out and spent my money on The Hobbit. I've still got it somewhere. And it was the biggest load of garbage. I must have read about the first 20 pages, and that was enough. Anyway.
Well, it's like Tolkien always starts out with like the landscape, and he spends about 5 pages telling you the position of every tree, rock, and leaf. So,
I don't mind that so much, but it's when they start talking. It's like when in the film when they go and I don't even know what they're doing. They're going to get that. They're going to throw that ring back in that volcano or something.
Yeah.
And they get a lift off the tree people who walk 16 times slower than they do. But anyway, so fast forward when the films were coming out, and I was obviously working then, and a friend of mine, Dave, he thought it was brilliant. And every time, do they come out every couple of years or something? For the 3, weren't they? They come out every couple of years, and he was always going on about it. And I said, look, I'm not going to see it anyway. Then a year after that, he came in one Friday and he banged this box on my desk and he said, right. And it was the trilogy of the films.
VHS tapes?
No. These are DVDs.
DVDs. Okay. I was I think I've had every version of that. Like I think it started. Did it start in VHS or did it start in Blu-ray? I definitely have had like DVD and then Blu-ray and now on streaming, and it's just like
right. Well, he banged this box down and he said, right, there it is, the whole thing. This is Friday morning. I want a report on Monday morning. No arguments. I want a report. So I went home and I sat down on the Saturday and I watched them all back to back.
Oh my
9 hours I will never get back of my life. biggest load of rubbish I've ever seen.
I mean, if you're not really into fantasy, that's a long time to sit there
Yeah,
and
if
have
you'd have
to
given me
ingest.
if you'd have given me 3 Star Trek films to watch, I'd have enjoyed that.
Right. I'll give me 3 John Wicks any day. I'll sit there and be
Yeah.
happy.
Yeah. So, well, and then he did King Kong.
King Kong.
That was
Okay.
15 hours long. I could have edited that down. And then he did, I don't know, something
Peter
else.
Jackson, yeah.
So I mean, he's great. Peter Jackson's a great film director,
Yeah.
but it's too long. Too long.
Yeah, I was grossed out by his version of King Kong when
Yeah.
there was that part where there was those giant bugs eating their party, and I was just like, and I'm out.
Well, you have to suspend your disbelief, don't you? We know all about that. But I just couldn't when they're running down that when they're in some kind of valley and all the animals are running past them because the big guys are coming. And them raptor ones, the little ones.
Yeah, like the weird lizard.
That hunt in packs.
Yeah.
That would get a human in 10 you wouldn't even know. And they're running down, snapping at them to bite them, and they're missing. I can't believe that they'd miss. But they ran down that valley for about 20 minutes, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
But anyway.
They're apparently marathon runners and have great cardio.
Well, there you go, you see. So I wouldn't, no, never again. Never again. But anyway. So then when I was about 10, my brother came home with Strange Tales 136, which was Jack Kirby and Nick Fury and all this kind of stuff. And then that's where I got Marvel. And I still got the original one that I had that I picked that he brought home. I still got the original one. And I always remember those early Marvels. On page 4, there was always an advert for the other magazine, the other comics. And on the advert, I think it's got FF, Spidey, Thor, and a Marvel Collectors. And I asked my brother, because I was lucky, you see, my two big brothers obviously always had money because they're older than me. They're at work or at least got paper rounds and things like that. And so he said, yeah, they have got those. So he went, I said to him, well, get to the shop and get them. So he brought and then, and
one of each, please.
Yeah, it went from there. So I started reading that. And then, of course, at that time, the Apollo program was going on. So I was really into that, going to the moon and all that kind of thing. Yeah. And later, I interviewed 3 of the 12 men who walked on the moon.
Oh, my gosh. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I wrote a book about that. But I wrote a book about the astronauts who didn't go to the moon.
Really?
Not the ones, because there's 9,000 books about Neil Armstrong. Well,
right.
I wrote about the guys who were killed in training who would have gone to the moon.
Killed in training?
Yeah, they died, in plane crashes and things like that.
Oh, my Lord.
And then, of course, there was the Apollo fire that killed those 3 astronauts as well. And that's called the dark side of the moon because it's the dark side of the moon. So
yeah.
But yeah, so I was so in my early teens, if I wasn't reading about Galactus and the Fantastic Four, I was watching Neil and Buzz walking on the moon. So I had a great time.
I was like, what a great childhood.
Yeah, and then,
Golden Age comics and the space program. It's like, why can't we?
It was a great childhood because especially where I lived, because I used to live in a cottage that is now still older than your country. This cottage, right? It's older than your country. And I was so fortunate because it's in the woods. It's in the middle of a wood. So when I opened my back door, I was in the woods.
That's cool.
And
I don't know. That's kind of creepy too.
Well, it's fantastic. I mean, it was better than living on a street somewhere in an estate.
Of course.
And so I had that as well. So I had a great time. I'm really grateful, but really fortunate to have been where I was. It's been great. It's been wonderful.
So after that time, so you were watching the space program and reading comics. When you were a young adult, did you immediately go into comics for a career, or is it something that
no,
something else first?
Well, what happened was I don't know what you have in America, but when I was 15, we had to go and see what was called a careers officer.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have the same kind of thing?
Yeah, we
to
kind
see
of go
what you're
through
going to
that
do.
same process where
Yeah.
it's like they talk to you about where your strengths and weaknesses are and
Yeah.
kind of push you in a direction.
Well, the only thing I could do was draw. And the only thing I was interested in at school was history and art, obviously. So I naturally was going that way. So I went to the careers officer with my mum, and he said, you know, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to draw comics. And this is what he said. I've never forgotten. This is what he said. He looked at me and he said, nobody draws comics.
Obviously somebody does, because there are comics.
Yeah, and I thought, well, who's drawn those 600 under my bed?
Yeah.
You know. And anyway, so I left school without any qualifications, and just got a job in a mill labouring, you know, as a kid. And then a couple of years later, when I was 17, I woke up and I thought, I can't be doing this when I'm 20. Never mind, because you don't think that far ahead, do you? I thought, I can't do this, because it was just, I'm not putting anybody down who does that work, but I always thought I can do better than this. So I put myself into art college for a couple of years.
Nice.
And then my claim to fame is that when I left college age 19, 3 years later, I was studio manager.
You were a studio manager? Oh my gosh.
In charge of 7 people.
Oh my Lord.
3 years after leaving college. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm also very grateful to my dad for a lot of things. But he said to me, learn everything you can about what you do. I know that's obvious, but not a lot of people do. And I learned about, I could already draw. I learned about typesetting, hand lettering, design, the whole thing of what I did in my job, photography, illustration. I learned and followed the whole thing. So now I'm always banging on about doing hand lettering. You might know about that. I'm always on about traditional artwork. I don't use a computer for art. I do use a computer, but not for drawing. I have done it. I had one of the first Wacom pads back in 1995, and I was drawing on it.
What do you call it?
Wacom.
Wacom pad?
I think you might say Wacom.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Wacom. Wacom pad. And I did that, and it was all right. But I just like the feel of the pencil on the paper, you know. I like using coloured ink.
Yeah.
I like using paint. And I'm just been doing an ancient scroll this past few days, and I just love using real materials. But if people want to use computers, that's fine. But I don't do that. So all my artwork is on artboard. It's all penciled and inked and coloured. Ryan. And, you know, I just like to...
not me, Glenn. Yes, not me.
I just like drawing. I just like drawing and writing as well. But I can never work out whether I'm a writer or an artist. So I just say I'm an artist.
That's amazing. I can draw. I don't spend a lot of time drawing because I can't do sequential art, not to save my life, but I can draw. But I've tried drawing on digital, and it's a completely different experience.
Yeah.
You know, and I prefer the traditional pencil on paper as well. But again, I'm not doing it for a living, so I can just sketch my little skull heads whenever I want to, and it doesn't, you know what I mean? It's like, but it's just amazing to me that people that can do both, because it's so different, in my opinion.
Yeah, it is. Well, I have a bit of a laugh with people, and people are always telling me, you know, the old school, you know, it's so, you know, and they say to me, well, they've got an undo or an undo button that if they make a mistake, they can undo that line. And I just say, well, I just get it right the first time.
See, that's key. You see, and that's the other thing.
I don't, but that's what I tell them. But you know, but what it does, it disciplines you. You see, if you've got it, it disciplines you. if you've got an undo button, you can undo for 15 years, can't you, to get it right?
Mhm.
But they tell me that using a computer saves them time. And I said, well, that's clearly not true, is it? Because I get my line right first time and you take 15 times. So it's not true, is it?
The thing that
Drives
that's
people crazy.
beneficial about digital art is that we can be in all different places. And like, for example, Marco can finish a page and it's very easy to upload it into a
Oh, yeah.
drive where I can grab it and then letter it. And then Matt can also have access to it. And you know what I mean? Where we can all be working on things without having to stop and scan or I
Yeah.
don't know. I just feel like it's a little quicker
Well-
digitally, but that doesn't take away the value of like physical art. It's just, it's history, it's skill. It's a different talent. And I mean, like, hey, Doc is here. By the way, speaking of another artist, and like you just can't get the same depth out of a digital painting that
No.
you can out of like a watercolor or an oil painting. It's never going to compare. So
Well,
know,
you
there's
see,
just a
yeah,
difference.
the thing is that I know that I understand that if I'm sending my artwork around to be lettered and all that kind of thing, it's going to take time and postage and a certain amount of danger that it'll, it might not get there.
Yeah.
But I do everything myself anyway. So
Well, that's
it was-
because you can do everything. No, when the rest of us, not so much.
well, they should try.
Try.
Should try.
Oh.
I mean, I'll show
Yes, but I won't be making comics.
Well, I'll show you some lettering that I did the other day. If I can
Okay.
get it, if I can get it off the
Let
wall.
me see if, because remember, I can't see your screen.
Oh,
I'm
you can't
having
see it?
digital
Oh,
issues. So
Well, I'll show people.
I'll put it up and then I'm going to
Got
blow
it.
you
Can
up.
you see
Oh,
that?
look, it fixes it when I blow you up. That's amazing. What does it hatch?
It says Hatch Terminate. It's from a Hatch
Nice.
comic I've done. But yeah, that's all hand lettering.
So do you use ruler? Like what tools are you using when you hand letter?
Well, I rough it out first, and then I use this. This is one of the best tools I have. It's called a Flexi Curve, and it does that.
Interesting. Cool.
This one is actually broken, but it still works. You just use it, and it bends. You do all sorts of things with it.
Nice.
That's one of the best tools I've got. But I use all sorts of things. I use ellipses. You see that?
Yes.
And I use pencils and pens and nibs and all this kind of thing.
I'm laughing. Devil's Air is just like, fine, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, well, I even write them as well. So I'm not a problem,
right. But I think it's necessary at times where it's like I do this with food, which is relatable, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But we moved from Michigan to Texas. And there's different food here. So some of the things that we really liked, for example, farmer's cheese. You cannot buy farmer's cheese in Texas. So I learned how to make it.
That's the way. That's the way you do it. So you got a challenge and you rose to the challenge.
Exactly.
When I went to
I need to letter it myself. I'll just do it.
Just
figure
do
it out.
Yeah. I look forward to doing it because it's a different discipline.
Yeah, it's a new skill.
I had my own studio for 7 or 8 years in the 90s, and I would have a different job on my desk, so to speak. I'd be drawing. Have you heard of Postman Pat?
Have I heard what?
Have you heard of Postman Pat?
No.
It's a cartoon character. It's a TV show, and it's a big thing over here. I used to draw that, and I'd do that on the Monday. Tuesday, I'd be drawing my own children's book. Wednesday, I'd be doing a photography session. Thursday, I'd be doing some lettering. So I used to have a different job on my desk every day, and it was fantastic.
That's great.
when I'm drawing, I'm looking forward to the whole process because I'll work out the roughs because I'm writing the story as well, usually.
Right.
And then I will work it out, do the sequential, and work it all out, make it work, and then look forward to penciling it. And then I'll look forward to lettering it. Then I'll look forward to inking it. And then I'll look forward to colouring it. And then when I've done, I also design the book it's going to go in.
See?
So,
not everybody can wear all those hats. They try. But I think you're just a unicorn because usually people are like, what do they say? Jack of all trades, master of none. You
That's
know what
what
I
I'm
mean?
saying,
Where
yeah.
it's like you're really good at one thing, or you can be kind of good at many things, but you are really good at the many things.
Well, that's debatable, but I don't know. But I
But
just
it's difficult for people to do that, to get to that level of skill and be able to do all steps. We typically don't see that this
no.
day and age.
I'm fortunate.
right?
I'm grateful. You know, but I've got to work at it. You know, you've got to. I think the key thing to me in life is to accept the challenge. You know, I've traveled a lot as well. I've been to a few places, and it's like people say, "Oh, I'd really like to go there." Well, then go. I did.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't, you know, I'm not blessed with lots of money. I save my money. You know, when I was in my 20s and I traveled a lot, I was rarely in the pub because I was in Texas. I was in, you know, South America, somewhere else, and the people I used to speak with in the pub, I wouldn't call them friends, my acquaintances, were always saying, "Oh, I'd love to go to Japan. I'd love to go to Australia." Well, then go. But and they said they can't afford it, so I said, "Well, don't come in the pub every night and drink 4 pints of beer. Save the money up, and go to where you want to go." Because I went here, show you. I went there.
Yeah, you sent me that picture. What? Tell us about this.
Well, that's Easter Island.
Yes.
You know, with the big statues on. I'll show you.
Right. Here, look. I have the picture here.
Yeah, those monoliths on. Now that place, Rapa Nui, that is the remotest inhabited place on Earth. It's right in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So I've always wanted to go there. Do you want me to tell you the story of that?
Yes, I do.
When I was about 12 or 13, we had a teacher called Mr. Clarkson, and he was the English teacher. And he used to read us sections from books. Now, I don't know whether you've heard of Thor Heyerdahl, who was a Norwegian explorer. And he went to Easter Island in 1955, and he stayed there a year. And he read us this book called Kon-Tiki Expedition. And it's always stuck in my mind, being 12 or 13, stuck in my mind, this remotest place on Earth. Then fast forward, when I was 50, I hit 50, I was single, and I had some money, and I thought, right, Easter Island. So I went to Easter Island. And when I go to places, I don't call them. I don't go on holidays to lie in the sun. I go on adventures, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I go with the purpose of documenting. So I did a lot of research. I got to Rapa Nui, and when I'm there, I took 1,000 photographs.
Wow.
6 hours of film, and an extensive diary at the end of the day, and it turned into this book, you know.
This guy could do documentaries on world travel, besides comic books and all the other stuff that he does.
Yeah.
See what I mean? Whereas, like, most people are a jack of all trade and a master of none, and then there's Glenn.
That's right. Yeah. I think that term is awful, jack of all trades and master.
I know, but
I'm going to go to Antarctica next.
I would love to go to Antarctica. Yeah, it's but that picture you've got of me with the hat on, that's on Rapa Nui.
Mm-hmm.
So when you were there, what were your lodgings like? Like, what? I know it's kind of the most remote place, as you said,
Oh,
but
decent.
Okay.
Yeah, they're decent. Yeah,
they had like a hotel there, or cottages, or
cottages. Yeah, this guy. I went through some agency. I can't remember now. It's a while, but yeah, he was great. He took me around the island and took me to see all the main parts, and it just drove me crazy because I was on my own. I had nobody to speak to half the time, and when you did, they all spoke Spanish. So
I
just wanted to pop in and say hi, Glenn, and I wanted to ask you to drop the links you want to share in the private chat so I can put them in the comments.
Okay, thanks, Pops. Thank you.
Have a good day, y'all.
And y'all, yeah. So
now,
I wrote this.
Now that we're here,
I wrote the book, and and then I came back and I wrote the book. There's that picture I sent you. I wrote the book, and
yeah. I think it's this way. It's the other way.
And then I designed the book.
There we are.
And publish the book. So I do the whole thing.
Gee.
So I
See,
just
don't
like
let anybody tell you that you can't. That
exactly.
you can't do something, that you
Well,
you should do something.
there are some
You know?
things there's some things I can't do, and that's walk on the moon because there's no.
Can you
there's no
decorate cakes? I'm terrible at decorating cakes, Glenn.
I've never tried that one, but I'd give it a go.
Okay. Then you and me both. We can't decorate cakes.
No.
I've tried and failed miserably. And people are always amazed because I can bake and I can cook. But when it comes to decorating the dang cake, it looks like my kids do it. And I'm like, well, it still tastes good.
Yeah, exactly.
Whatever.
So yeah, I just like
But
to
you-
travel. I've been, doing all that kind of thing. That
So
is
let's
for-
continue.
that
Yeah, I was going to say, now that I have the pictures up, I kind of want to talk through what you've sent me. And I know we talked about the space program early in your career, your childhood, and that I can definitely see the influence there. This one, and then where was the other one with the moon? Here it is. I don't know, moon or Mars? Beautiful.
what it is, it's that. Can I just say that is a photograph? It's not a scan. That's why it's not round. That planet is actually round. It looks distorted. But that's from a science fiction book that I'm writing and illustrating called The Amazing Mr. Kuiper. And this is Kuiper in the doorway. He's an engineer on this space station around this planet. And things happen. So, but I won't go into that yet. I'll come on when that's about to be launched. But it's taken me ages because I keep getting other. Do you know? I'm retired and I've never been busier than I am now.
I believe that. I believe it.
But I can't get round to doing what I want to do.
I know, and that's the hard part.
Now the thing is, you said about sequential art.
Yes.
Now I can do sequential art, but
yes.
as you know, a graphic novel is going to be 70 pages, and that would take me a year because I pencil, ink, and color,
right,
and letter. So I tend now I've got this system now where I write a book and illustrate it, so there'll be spot illustrations in it, and so it won't be a comic. It'll be sort of it'll be more of a book than a comic, but it's not a book because it's got all these illustrations in. That's the way I work, and that's from The Amazing Mr. Kuiper. The guy you showed with the rifle.
Yes.
That one is from a book I wrote about my dad. My dad was a paratrooper on D-Day.
Oh my goodness.
And that's not him, but that's he and his unit attacked a place in France, in Normandy, before the landing craft went in on D-Day. They had to knock out these guns because they were going to fire on the guys on the beach.
Right.
And of course, as we hear all these things where there were 650 men in my dad's unit, battalion, or whatever you call it.
Yes.
And they were misdropped and shot down and crashed and all this kind of, you've seen Band of Brothers and all that kind of stuff. That's what my dad went through that. And only 150 got to the place that they were going to take. And when they took it, it took 20 minutes for them to take out all these Germans, and only 80 were left alive.
Oh my Lord.
And my dad was one of them.
Thank goodness for that. But
otherwise we wouldn't be having this conversation. But
terrible.
So what I did for the 75th anniversary, I wrote a book about it. So because my dad's not here now, and he never really spoke about it. These veterans tend not to talk about it. He told me the odd thing. So I took those quotes that I remembered that he told me, and I researched it and wrote fictionalized the story of him in it, with him in it. Drove my wife crazy because she was on Normandy Beach with me every morning for 2 months because I was reading all this research, doing all this research.
Yes.
And that's one of the illustrations from it.
It's beautiful. That was such a difficult time. It's so interesting. You know what I mean? And I love to research and watch historical documentaries about World War II. It's probably one of the most studied periods of time, in modern history. So to hear, firsthand, not really firsthand stories, but you know what I mean? Like your dad's history, maybe retold or changed out some characters, is always interesting to me. I love Band of Brothers. I think that series was so well done.
I don't know whether this is true or not, but after the war, my dad went to India and he was teaching Indian forces to be a paratrooper.
Paratroopers,
for 2 years. Now, I don't know whether that's true, but I don't know whether this part is true. It suddenly occurred to me when I was researching all this that my dad must have made about 300 or 400 parachute jumps because he was, after the war, was training. And I think you have to do 6 or 10 before D-Day to be to get your wings and all that kind of thing.
Right.
So the D-Day one was probably his 11th jump.
Yeah.
And then he went to India. And then he fought for a year, wasn't jumping out of a plane, they just on the ground then, and they just carry on. Then he went to India. And it occurred to me while I was researching this that I don't know, because my dad's dead now, I can't ask him. But I don't think he ever landed in a plane. Because
he just go he jump right out.
Yeah, he'll jump out.
That's funny. So it's like, how many planes have you gone up in and not come down? That's funny.
Yeah. So, but I don't know whether he did or not. But I'm saying he didn't. I'm saying he didn't land in a plane.
Why would he?
If he does, it means something's wrong, doesn't it?
Right. Yeah, the doorway or the chute, is messed up or something. But that's probably more likely than not, he didn't come back down in that plane. So
let me tell you about this book. It's called 8 Seconds. You can get it on Amazon.
Okay.
And I've always wanted to do a parachute jump because I always figured that if my dad can do it under fire, I can do it just not under fire, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I can't.
Well, yeah. Well. So back in the mid '80s, I was at work and I suggested we do a parachute jump for charity. And just before they were going to go, I injured my back.
Oh no!
So they went ahead with it and did the charity jump, and I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And since then, I've kept away from it.
Okay. I was going to say, did you go back? But no.
So when I'm writing this book in 2019, I think it was, I thought I should do a parachute jump into because I found out that because of the internet on the website, there's this guy his dad must have known my dad. They were at the same place fighting both our dads were fighting this gun emplacement, so they must have known each other. And he does a jump every year into this. He's done about 600. Well, he's not 600 years old, but he's done loads of parachute jumps. But he does one every year into the place where our dads would have gone. Yeah. And I was going to sign up for this, but then my back reminded me, and Helen reminded me not to, persuaded me not to. So I published.
We're good for that.
So I published the book, and do you know what he did? Doug, he's called Doug Moody. What he did, Doug?
Yes.
He took the book with him, and he put it in his tunic. He jumped my dad back in there, and then he got there's 3 of them C-47 planes, those Dakotas, that full. And they're called sticks. The guys inside are called a stick, and he got. I think there's 16 on each plane, plus the flight crew. So there's probably 20 people on each plane. He got them all to sign the book for me.
Oh my Lord.
And then sent it me. I didn't know. I sent him, he asked me for 2 copies. So I sent him 2 copies. But he was always going to send me one back.
That's so cool.
All signed. And I've got that in the archive there. And it's just wonderful.
Did he take it with him when he jumped out of the plane?
Yeah.
He's been skydiving, but you haven't.
That's right. Yeah, he had it in his tunic. He put it in his tunic, and he jumped out, and landed at the place. So, but I'm hoping to get down there and take some of this artwork from the book, and hopefully get it framed and put it in the museum there.
Oh, that would be so cool.
Because it will be there forever, I guess. So,
right.
So that's on the list as well.
I don't think I could ever skydive. I would probably throw up and soil myself as I jumped in and pass out. That's probably what would happen. So
I could do it, but I've got to be careful of my back. It's okay. I can walk
yeah.
around. It doesn't bother me most of the time. But if I jarred it, I think I'd probably do myself some serious harm.
It will definitely jar you, I think.
Yeah, and I'd rather
When
not.
the chute opens and it
Yeah.
snaps out, Glenn, I'm going to stand with your wife. We're going to say no.
Okay. The irony is that we're talking about the Apollo program and following that. The irony is that if I'd have been standing next to my dad on D-Day, this will sound stupid. I wouldn't have been because I'm too tall. I'm 6'1", and my dad was only about 5'7".
Okay, wow.
And paratroopers had to be, because if they were much taller than my dad, they used to crack the head on the tailplane as they went out.
Oh.
And also the Apollo astronauts, they're all tiny. Have you heard of Gus Grissom?
Yes.
Gus Grissom died in the fire.
Yes.
He was 5'5".
But there's just not that much room in there.
Well, exactly. That's why I couldn't have gone. I could go on the shuttle, but I couldn't have gone to the moon because I'm too tall.
I believe it. I mean, there's not that much space. You can't put a linebacker on the.
That's right. So
landing.
how ironic is that my dad was there jumping out of a plane? See, I'm tall. My mum was tall. My mum was about 5'10". So I get my height. I get my height from her.
Yeah.
So it's really weird.
Interesting to think about. All right, we're going to go back to the beginning here because I would definitely want to talk about this. But let's start here. What? I don't think I've seen you post anything or talk about this. What is this?
This is Iapetus Rising. It's, as it says, it's an illustrated novel. What it is, it's a science fiction story. Iapetus is one of the moons of Saturn.
Okay.
And that is a real photograph of it. Now,
Wow.
Can you see that ridge?
Yeah, it's like, how did they get it so detailed?
Well, it's a flyby photograph
From the satellite.
Yeah, and that ridge is 15 miles high. That ridge is 3 times bigger than Everest.
Wow.
And nobody's been there, obviously, as far as we know. But so it's very, very remote, and Saturn is 1 billion miles away from Earth, and it's about this guy who gets stranded, and that's what it's about. And it's illustrated. I've got some illustrations for that book, and yeah, and but it's about that. So that's a few years. That's about. I think I published that in 2017, maybe. I'm not sure.
Okay. But same kind of format like you were talking about, where it's a novel, but it has illustrations. So that seems to be where you live, which is cool. I like that, where it's like the best of both worlds, because novels are great, comics are great, but illustrated novels, I'm sure that's a treat.
Well, again, it's the discipline thing. It's I enjoy the writing, I enjoy the research, and I enjoy the writing, and then I enjoy illustrating it as well. And then I design the book again. I've done that. I designed that, and it's NASA are great, because that photograph is from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and they're free. They're copyright free because you pay for them. You pay for that photograph, and I can use it for free, which is a real bonus.
So that's beautiful. It's just so desolate. It almost reminds me, this is so silly, the Alien movie poster where it's egg and it's like in space, no one can hear you scream. That's the kind of picture. That's what makes me think of.
I've never thought of that.
Hey, look, it's Brad. Hi, Brad. Love it. You need this in your geeky world. Yes, I do. Beautiful job. All right, okay. So now let's talk about this. We've played the commercials, we've talked about this documentary, but how did you come upon, sorry, this is not what I wanted to show, guys. How did you come upon this whole situation? Like, you were actually talking with Jack Kirby, or?
I was in his house.
That's crazy.
What happened there was, as I said, when my brothers were bringing Marvel comics home, and I got to know Jack Kirby, the artist in the comic.
Was he close by? Like, how did you even get an introduction?
Oh, well, I'll tell you what happened was, I'm a big Jack Kirby fan.
Mm-hmm.
And then in my mid-20s, when I started traveling, I sort of left everything behind. I left comics behind. I left everything behind and went traveling. Then about 10 years later, I went into a new comic shop opened near me. So I just thought, oh, I'll see what's going on. And I just went in, and it crossed my mind. I wondered if Jack Kirby was still alive, because all those guys were in their 50s when I was reading, and it was 20 years later, you know, and all this kind of thing. Anyway, I found out he was, and his new comic was just there. Silver Star, I think it was called, or his latest comic was there. So I thought he's still alive. And then I started getting back into comics, and I went to a couple of conventions in London and this kind of thing. And I got back into it, and I got a lot of my old comics back and bought them again, you know. And I thought, oh, it'd be really cool to meet Jack Kirby. And then I learned that he was coming to London in, I think it was 1986 London convention. I thought, oh, I've got to go to that. I've got to see him. Got to shake his hand.
Yeah.
And then he didn't come. He decided not to come.
Man.
So yeah. So a year later, my former partner went to Barbados on holiday.
Okay.
And we met this American couple who were getting married there, and we'd known them for a day, and we ended up being best man and matron of honor for these people, like you do. So we did that, and we got on really well, and I just threw into the conversation. Oh, just backtrack. I remember I was wondering if Kirby was alive, and I remembered in the comics, in these Fourth World comics in the early 70s, you could write to him. I never did, but you could write to this address, and it was this place called Thousand Oaks in California.
Yes.
Near LA. And I just threw in the conversation, do you live near Thousand Oaks? And Suzanne, the American girl, said, yeah, it's about an hour away, and everywhere's just an hour away in America, even when it's 5.
It's so funny. That's true.
And so I said, she said, why? And I told her about Jack Kirby. So then we carried on the holiday. They went home. It was one of those things. You must have done it yourself. You must have been somewhere where you get on really well with total strangers, and you're going to meet up, and you never do. Right? You must. Right. Everybody does that when they go on holiday. Oh, give us your phone number. Give us your, and you never do anything.
Right.
Anyway, so they left after about a week. We had another week. And when we got back, we thought that was the end of it. We'd never see them. Get back, and there's a letter waiting. And she was saying, it's great to meet you guys, and you've got to come over, and blah, 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 blah. Jack Kirby says hello, and he says one day he hopes he can draw as well as Glenn. Ha, ha, ha. And I've still got this letter. It's in the book.
What?
So she
knew how?
Well, she just opened the phone book.
That's amazing.
And found Jack Kirby, Thousand Oaks, and she rang. And it was right. So she sent me the phone number. So every day after work for about 3 weeks, I used to read this letter and look at this phone number. Now, back in those days, there were no cell phones and things like that, and overseas phone calls were very expensive.
Right.
So I'm looking at this number, and my former partner said to me, she said, for God's sake, just ring it. Just ring it. And if it's not him, put the phone down.
Right.
So, which is obvious, but I'm sitting there. So I rang the number, and this lady answered the phone, and I told her who I was. So I was ringing from England. And I said, are you the wife of the Jack Kirby, the comics creator? And she said, yes, I'll put him on. Yeah. And then I'm talking to Jack Kirby for an hour. Cost me a fortune.
You're like, I don't care how much money. This is worth it.
So I said, oh, we're coming over in October. This was about May of 1988. And I said, oh, I'm coming over to LA, Anaheim in October. Could I come and see you? To Jack, said, could I come and see you? And he said, yeah. He said to me, who are you coming with, your mum and your dad? I said, no. I was about 33 at the time.
How old do you think I am right now?
Yeah. So anyway, so we went over and went to his house and had lunch with him and stayed about 6 hours. And I remember on the way up, but Bob Bob and Suzanne. Bob took us up there, and he said when we got to the Jack's house and he came out, Bob said, "Oh, we'll just go for a drive. We'll come back in an hour." And I remember thinking, unless the Kirby's are kicking me out, there's no way I'm leaving after an hour.
Not enough time.
Yeah.
I was like, an hour.
So
Like,
so
come
when we
back
got there,
tomorrow.
yeah. So when we got there, Bob said that, and Roz said, "Oh no, I've got some lunch." So we all went in for lunch, and we stayed there for 6 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
And in the book, and again, as I did with all my books, I wrote all this down immediately when we left. Almost immediately. Extensive notes, and they're in the book as well. You can see them. But I remember I was sitting having lunch next with Jack Kirby, and I couldn't speak. I was 33, and I couldn't speak for about 25 minutes. I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I couldn't. I was just sitting there like I was 5, like a little kid, So, but yeah, he was great. He was fantastic. And then I said to him at the end, "That was brilliant. Can I come back?" And he said, "Yeah," and I did. I went back 3 years later, and that's when I filmed him. That's what the DVD on the DVD, and yeah, it was great. I had a really good time.
What's he like? What was he like?
Really, really nice guy. Really humble. Really, and Roz was fantastic. Because that's when I got some hair.
Yeah,
and it was really great. He was just a really nice bloke. You wouldn't think that, and when you look at him, I mean, he's tiny, and he, you wouldn't think that those great Galactus things have come out of him, all these fantastic drawings of space and everything come from this little person, his mind is as big as his mind is the universe,
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And it was interesting because you can see between us, just over where it says Kirby, there's a drawing on the wall.
Yes.
In a frame. Well, when I went the first time, I took a drawing for him, which was and it was Jack Kirby in this drawing. He's thinking about drawing Spider-Man, and I did Roz on it, and she comes up. He's got a think bubble, and it's got this spider with a head on it.
Yeah.
And it says "Behind every great man," and then he's telling Roz, and her think bubble has got the actual Spider-Man in it. It's like she, Anyway, so 3 years later, we go into his studio, and there it is on the shelf. My drawing on the shelf. Cool. But I think that was probably Roz who did that.
Looks like my grandparents' basement in Michigan. Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, he looks like just family,
He's 72 there. He's got more hair than I've ever had. But yeah, it was great. He was great. And Roz was the best. She was a fantastic person. Roz, she was lovely.
Did he give you any career advice? Like, did you talk about just everything? Like, what were you focused on when you were there?
Well, the first time I went, I took my work with him. I took Hatch with him, with me, and he gave me some directions on that. And he said, it's in the book. He said to me, "You draw like I do." And he didn't mean square fingers. He meant the way I told the story, because I took him some pages of a science fiction story that I did. So my work was on his desk. So my work has been on that drawing board that all that stuff came out of. And there's photographs in the book showing that. And it's just wonderful. He's just such a nice bloke. And Roz was great as well. And it's I'll try and find the picture. These are the pages I showed him. I don't know whether you can see those.
Let me blow you up. Wow.
Just penciled from a science fiction story that I was doing. And so I think he was. Well, I know he was talking about the storytelling aspect of it, because I don't draw like him. I went through that phase when trying to draw everything like him, but then I realized that's what it wasn't about,
Right. I mean, we all go through that, but that's part of the journey, is to emulate what we like, and then to find your own style.
And your own style will always come through.
Mm-hmm. So, but if you don't know where to start, emulate what you like.
Yeah. You got to just be aware of things. Got to look for it, and you'll find it.
Yeah. Find out what works.
Mm-hmm.
See what you like, what draws your eye.
Like we said before about the computer thing, you find out what works best for you. And like I said, I've worked on computers, and it's a fantastic tool. But I just like drawing, and I like sharpening the pencil in anticipation, and getting the inks ready and the water ready for the paintings and things like that. I just like all the disciplines that's needed to produce art. I like the research as well. I did a lot of research on JFK assassination. I wrote 2 books on that. And the first place I went in America was Texas.
Did you go to Dealey Plaza and go?
Yep.
Was the library the 7th floor?
6th floor library.
6th
no,
floor, thank you.
The museum. No, it wasn't there. No,
it wasn't there yet. Okay.
They wouldn't let me in the building. I was there when the House Select Committee on Assassinations were doing a reenactment in 1978. I was on the radio, talking as a sort of a foreigner's point of view, but they wouldn't let me in the building.
It's interesting in there. If you ever have a chance to come back and go through it, I recommend it, because they don't give you a right or wrong answer. They just present all of the material, and you just have to kind of absorb it and make up your own opinion on it. Yes, Hugo, it's super interesting. But same thing, like you got to go for like hours and just walk around and consume the information. It's a lot.
It's ironic, isn't it, that the Oswald window, so-called Oswald window, is sealed off, isn't it?
Yes.
And there's nobody there, and that's quite factual, because there was nobody there.
Which is crazy.
He wasn't in the window. He wasn't firing anybody. So, maybe that's a different thing. But I wrote 2 books on that. I used to produce a magazine about that kind of stuff, and all sorts of things went on. It's interesting.
That's another bit of history that's been studied over and over again.
Yeah, it's all been watered down, but anyway, that's it.
Well, that's part of the problem, I think, is when there's either too much information or there's too many people writing, and they all want to do something different or opinionated about it. It's like, at what point, what is truth? What can you believe in?
If anybody was going to look into that now, I would say read everything that happened before 1967 with regard to witnesses and all evidence, because after that is when everybody locked into writing their book and saying it was this guy and it wasn't that guy and it was this guy. If you read before anything published before 1967, you'll probably be on the right track. So there you go.
Tell me about this guy, the little green tree.
Yeah, that's a children's story that's out there now. I've got 2 parts. I've got another second part coming out soon. It's obviously written and illustrated by me, but there's a story behind that. When I went to see Jack Kirby in 1988,
okay,
I flew over the Grand Canyon in a small plane, and I think there's a story in everything. And I'm flying along.
100%.
Sorry,
I said 100% agree with you.
Yeah. So I'm flying along, and I don't know. Have you been to the Grand Canyon?
I have not, but it's on my bucket list.
Right. Well, you probably know this, but it's not a mountain; it's a split in the ground, so you can actually sort of fall into it, so to speak.
And people do.
And people do. It's a big crack in the ground. So I'm flying over the top of this, and there was a group of trees that went to a point, and the tree at the point was right on the edge, and I noticed that all the shadows of the trees behind this little tree at the front obliterated his shadow. They all went over his shadow. So this was in my mind. And then about 2 years later, I was at a printer's. And when this is when I had my own studio, I was at the printer, and I always used to take my folder with me, just in case somebody needed to see something that I did that might get me work for the studio. So on this day, I went to the printer, and there was a guy there, and the printer said to me, "Oh, you should talk to this guy. It's really interesting." And this guy was a publisher, and he was looking for new authors. I said, "Oh," so I told him what I did, And he said, oh, well, I'm back here tomorrow. Bring some stuff. So I said, right. And went home and panicked because I didn't have anything about this. Right? Not one word other than right?
Right.
So I spent that evening and into the early hours doing all these samples of this book, which I've still got, which looked nothing like him. He was brown in the samples, but I changed it because I thought Little Brown Tree doesn't sound clever. So I changed it. So anyway, so I went back the next day with all this, and I wrote the story in about 20 minutes. Because it's not very detailed. It's a children's book. It's only
a children's book. Yeah,
it's in paragraphs more than a prose. You understand?
Right.
I mean, it's not a full book, and it's illustrated. And so I wrote it in about 20 minutes. And I remember that flight, and it's about him not being able to see in the canyon because his shadow doesn't reach.
Aww.
And that's what it's about. And I've written a second part to it as well. So there you go. But the guy didn't publish it. He didn't take it. But I can't. When I'd done these roughs, I thought I can't waste these roughs now and this writing. I've got to do something. So I've spent the next 2 weeks producing all the pages.
It just goes back to what Devil's there said. It's just fine. I'll do it myself.
Yeah.
You don't want it? Fine. I'll do it myself.
Yeah. Pretty much.
He's a cute looking tree. Kind of reminds me of like the Giving Tree a little bit, but not. You know what I mean? Like he doesn't look like it, but it's just like I don't know if it's like the Giving Tree, the Little Green Tree. Those are the only children's books I can think of with tree in them.
Right. I did send it to one publisher, and then a few years before I published it, there was a similar one came out, and I'm convinced it was just the same. And I'm convinced that somebody at that publisher had seen my book and put it out there.
Jerks.
But
yeah,
I don't know.
I know that's this.
But that's when I thought, that's when I woke up to self-publishing, because I thought, if I'm sending these things about, all of a sudden there's a different book coming out and you don't get any credit or money or anything. So I stopped doing that. It's
always a concern. Like when you see online where they're like, contest, we're having a short story contest. You could get yours printed by this publisher. And it's like, what if they're just taking everybody's stuff? Like maybe someone wins, but then they've all read your things. This is a great idea. I'm going to write about that.
When I was at college, I did this illustration with my new repeatograph. Have you seen repeatographs? Rotring pens. I've not seen them, like drawing pens, and they do really good dots on them. You can do some really nice faces with dots. You know what I mean?
Nice, yeah.
And I did this illustration. It took me a few weeks at college, and we had this. People used to come in from places where we might get work, advertising agencies and things like that. And this guy came in, and he saw that he was walking around. I was working on this drawing, big 23 by 23, big piece of work. There must be about 9 million dots on it where I'm just dotting with this pen. And he said, "Oh, that's really interesting." He said, "Can I take it? And I'll take a copy and I'll bring it back." So I said, "Oh, I don't know about that." And he went away. My boss, the lecturer, came over and he said, "Did that guy just ask you to let him take your drawing?" And I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, don't let him, because you'll never see it again." So I didn't, and I've still got it. 50 years on, I've still got it.
Yeah.
And so that was saying we have to be careful. You have to be careful.
Yeah, for sure.
So.
Gosh, I haven't done pointillism. I think I did something in high school. I made a turkey with dots, and it was fabulous. But I got tired of it after so often. I was just like, the rest of it's going to be black in the background. No more dots. It's like carpal tunnel. All right. Are we done now?
No, this guy, this is Mr. Kuiper again. This is the amazing Mr. Kuiper.
It is. Okay. I was going to say, because I know they're kind of mixed in there. I was like, I think that's him with the orange suit, but the perspective on this is just amazing.
Well, I used to at school. I was told I could draw in 3D, which they meant perspective.
This is a lie. I do not kill and defeather turkeys by hand. Okay, I buy them at the store like every other respectable Texan. Respectable Texan. There's other Texans that want to shoot and defeather their own turkeys. Have at it. I'm not going to do it. Anyways, continue, please.
So I've always been able to draw perspective I was the 3D guy. So
We will not be doing that for the slice and dice. I mean, we could if I find an inanimate object that's a turkey. We're gonna machete the chicken. We could. I mean, if it was a cooked chicken, we could do the slice and dice with the chicken. Chicken nuggets. Oh my lord, you guys are funny. Well, we're gonna have to do something with that next campaign for sure. Anyway, so perspective with this chicken nuggets. That was Pops. It wasn't me. This is 2 point or 3 point.
3 point.
It is.
Yeah.
That always happens, Brad. At some point, we always see something shiny and go off the rails. It's the Tuesday morning brew. We've been pretty good so far.
So I've always been able to draw in perspective, and to me, it's easy. People have a problem with it, but I never had a problem with it. And it's funny because when I got back into comics in the mid '80s, I actually do things the wrong way around. I still got this book. I bought a book about perspective, which showed me what I was doing. Do you understand what I mean? All these 3 point perspectives, and I wasn't thinking, oh, 3 point perspective.
Okay.
I just
do the thing, and they're like, "Oh, what you're doing is 3 point perspective."
So I bought this book, and it just showed me and gave me the theory of what I was already doing. So it's wildly exaggerated that though, but it works.
Yeah, I was gonna say 3 point perspective. I think is difficult when you have this amount of detail, because everything is going towards some kind. You're like, I could do it, but it's like I could do a box. Like, well, that's where you start. Foreshortening with his arms close to the camera, like that's difficult.
But I was going to send you the sequence of this because I'll send it anyway. You can see it anyway. But I've got the rough pencil. I've got the rough that I drew, the very rough, just with a biro, and then I've got the rough pencil, then the pencil, then the finished pencil, then the inks and the colors. I'll send it to you later. You can see it.
So this is. What materials did you use here? Because I can see the colored pencil for the grays and for his suit, but what's the yellow?
The yellow is just flat ink on the background.
Okay.
You can see under the blue of the steel, it's very grainy. That's because I left the pencil shading on him and went on the top of it, which gives it a really nice effect.
Nice.
And yeah, I just like drawing. I just like doing it. It's a challenge.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
I mean,
when you tackle something like this is amazing.
It's probably all wrong.
What?
But it looks okay. And George Perez. George Perez said, if it looks right, it probably is. And I'll go with that.
That's the thing with drawing. When something's off and you can't place it, you can still tell when something is off. You know what I mean? Like, especially with proportions and like life drawing, human anatomy, stuff like that, where it's like the neck is weird, or, the arm shouldn't be that long, or, you know what I mean? Like the proportion is off. You can see it, even if you can't put your finger on it. Oh, you have a Fund My Comic right now?
Yeah.
I did not realize. You didn't tell me.
I'm not got there yet, have we?
There we go.
That's on Fund My Comic right now. This is Hatch is a character of mine that's been going for 40 years, and this is the book about how he's developed with unpublished artwork in it, pencils, and my little notes about why I did what and when and who and why. Yeah. And also, this brings to this. Helen, my wife, is a ceramics artist, and she made that.
Yeah, I remember when she made that and you posted it and we were all flabbergasted by it.
Isn't that fantastic?
It's so nice.
You can buy that on the campaign, but nobody has yet because it's very, very expensive.
Oh, I'm sure.
And the deal is if you buy this, I will bring it to your house.
Over here in Texas?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It'll give me an excuse to go to Texas, won't it?
I'm gonna say, is it
It's made of clay.
Does it include your flight in the cost of that?
Yeah. If you press that first button there for YouTube,
Yep.
you'll see me inking him just for 2 seconds. Well,
Just for 2 seconds. We're going to
well,
watch the whole thing. There we
well,
go.
a minute. I think it's a minute.
Hatch is not your average cartoon character. Far from it. Hatch lives on a remote asteroid far out in space and has no knowledge of anywhere else. His day compounds bewilderment with disbelief as his life unfolds before him. A life he marvels at, embraces, and is ultimately frustrated by, albeit in a comedic way. This 100-page, full-colour, annotated edition of Hatch not only boasts an in-depth interview with creator Glenn B. Flemming, as he takes us through the evolution of this lovable character, but also presents previously unseen original artwork from the Hatch archive. All this, along with the creator's annotation and anecdotes, make this book a must for the connoisseur of sequential art.
That's him. That's the end.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I love watching people watercolor paint. I have zero skill watercolor.
Well,
So I'm always amazed by it.
I should have got these. I should have put these in the chat, because I'm on YouTube. You know when Mr. Kuiper is standing on the doorway with the planet. You can see me colouring that. There's I'll put them in later. There's a YouTube thing on. If you go to YouTube and put my name in, you'll see all kinds of stuff. There's all sorts of
Okay.
stuff.
YouTube.
But yeah, it's I just like doing it. Just like
Yeah.
There's lots of things on there. There's little mini films I've made and all sorts of stuff. But my Grand Canyon film was kicked off because I put Frankie Goes to Hollywood.
Whoops.
2 Tribes on as the soundtrack, and they didn't like that, so they took it down.
Oh.
But that's me flying into the Grand Canyon in a helicopter.
Coloring Hatch, unveiling Hatch. There's the jet.
Is it there?
Yes. I was looking for the space guy. Is he in a certain here? I'll go.
Is it there?
Videos. I'll find it.
There seems. I think this might be on another. I don't know what it is. There's something I've done wrong, and I think there's 2 separate sort of channel things.
Oh no!
So I'm not sure why that's happened, but he is there. If you put the amazing Mr. Kuiper in, that might come up. Kuiper spelled Kuiper.
P-E-R. The amazing Mr. Kuiper. Is this it? Welcome to Astro Hedgehog. That can't be right.
It's not that.
Link is in the chat now.
Did you find it? Okay, thank you. But I can't copy it from our comments. I'll just type it in. Do. Slash.
You can see I'm really fully prepared for this.
Yeah, me too.
Should be showing you artwork, shouldn't I?
Try that. Nope, I mistyped it. How come I can't copy that?
No idea.
I put it in the private chat now, but it's in
Yeah,
the
okay,
chat.
that I
on all
can
the
copy.
channels.
There we
in the
go.
chat on all the channels.
Thanks, Pops. Remember, I told you I didn't want to push all the buttons. I was afraid the computer would be like, here we go. Ta-da. All right, this one. I'm assuming
You need the first one,
The
where the
first
leg
one.
with the legs.
with the legs.
Yeah. It's a bit fuzzy there, but it's 11 minutes long. I don't think
We
we'll be
won't watch
watching
the
it.
whole thing,
But
but
you can just see it somewhere.
like you're complaining about my intro.
Yeah, you can see me drawing it. It's not very clear, but you can see me drawing it. It
I
is
don't know, we
speed.
might watch all this. Wow.
It is speeded up.
Yeah. Better have some good space music on here, Glenn.
Say again.
So you better have some good space music.
Yeah. I've not seen it for ages. I'd forgotten it was so out of focus. Don't know what's wrong with it.
So when you're doing your point perspective, you just have the point somewhere in your mind. You're not actually putting a point on the paper as a reference. Okay.
No, I just do it by eye.
That's crazy.
It'll get to the colouring a bit if you. I don't know whether you want to wind it on a bit, but you get to the colouring.
Here we go.
There it is. Just wind it on a bit more, you'll see.
What?
Just send it forward. I'll get to the colouring.
Wow, look at it. So many hours of work that we've just fast forwarded.
Yeah. Just play that now.
Play here.
Just
okay.
Colouring it. What I'm doing there. There you go. Obviously a bit later on.
Upside down hot. Look at that though.
That's basically it. It's just finished there.
I love it.
But yeah, if you want to spend 11 minutes of your life,
I'm going to have to.
you'll see it being done. And then the one, it's okay. You'll see them. We'll talk about this. I'm just going to say that one at the top there, coloring that one is where I'm coloring the planet on another drawing.
Ooh, that's probably gorgeous.
And
let's go back. We'll watch that one for sure.
That's
I will.
It's I'm using sponges on that one to do the red. Just click on it. Okay. Just show a minute of it.
I won't say no. Tell me when.
Then Now, what I'm putting on a masking fluid there.
Yeah.
So just wind it on a bit, and you'll see.
All right, here.
That's it. It's all done on artboard. That's the water. Just putting the water on with a sponge, and then drop the ink on it.
Oh, look at that.
Can't tell you the joy of slapping that on. It's brilliant. Yeah. Just let the water take over and take it where it wants to go,
Yeah.
That's the way it's done. I'm not sure whether you could get that effect on a computer, but I may be wrong.
I don't know.
But just think how boring it would be. It would take you 2 seconds to do that on
I
a
know, like,
computer.
flash, it's done.
Yeah.
Whitefire would like to know if it's Bristol board.
Yeah, it's not Bristol board. It's De La Rowney art board.
Okay. I don't know what that is.
It's just artboard. It's De La Rowney is the make. It's just artboard.
Is the ink running into the color too with all the water a little bit?
Yeah, that's the idea. You get all the different
Yeah.
kind of textures. It's just I just love doing it. It's great. And then when it's dry, you just peel all that gunk off it, and it makes a nice fine line. You know. That's it. Basically, it just goes on from there. Just wind it on a bit.
I
See
could
what.
watch that for hours. Oh,
Just
sorry,
wind-
take this comment down.
Just wind it on. See what it'll.
See where it goes? Okay.
I think you'll see it when it's finished. There you go.
Wait, right here. Okay. Look. Bravo. I love that.
It's great. I love it. I just
Yeah.
love doing it.
What's that?
That's a little planet, little moon. Doing the same technique again, but obviously in the blue. Just little moon. Here we go. Look at this.
Yes, that's so satisfying.
Look at this.
Let's watch. Glenn, I challenge you to make a TikTok channel of you just taking the matting of your stuff. We'll just watch this.
Yeah.
Part. Do it. Do it. Yes, do it. Take that off, and that's what will come up. Beautiful. Get a TikTok of just nothing.
The secret is not to be scared, even though you're terrified. Don't let it know that you're scared.
Yeah, seriously. A little piece there.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. We're going to go back here. Cool. So this annotated hatch, 100 pages, A4, full color, perfect bound, soft back book featuring, oh, wow, both published and unpublished art.
You can get a hardback version as well.
Okay. And you're already funded. So this is for sure going to happen.
It's
cool.
Yeah, it's sat there now. Yeah, it didn't work as much as I wanted it to. There's one thing I can't do, and that's sell it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a good salesman.
Yeah, well, I mean, do you really have to be at this point? You just have to like, put it out there and be like, I'm Glenn Flemming, and people will be like, yes, thank you, I will take one. It's hard to put yourself out there and to be on social media all the time. It's time consuming. It's just beautiful.
Now that pyramid there,
yeah,
that's one of the best things I've done because I got the angle right and I drew all the stones in it. Now on Khufu's pyramid, the big pyramid of the three, there are 2.5 million blocks in the real one. Well, I know because I've drawn them all, and I've drawn them all twice because I penciled it and then I had to ink it.
I was like, you drew every single rock, didn't you?
Yeah.
Look at him.
Yeah.
Boy.
I've got it here. Let's have a look. It's in the book.
Do your hands ever just cramp up? I'm just curious.
No.
There it is in color. Look how beautiful that is. Oh my gosh. How long does that take you to do something that detailed?
It took me probably 2 days, a morning to pencil it, an afternoon to ink it, and then the next day to color it.
Oh my gosh. That's so fast.
Yeah.
This
I do work fast, yeah.
2 years.
2 years.
I would be still working on it.
I'm gonna say it's probably 2 years since I did that, yeah. That's one of the best pages there, where you can see the pencil, the ink, and the color.
Yeah. I love that too, where it's like the progression, where it started versus, where you end up. Really cool to see. What's this one? We're penciling?
That's just drawing. He lives in a little hatch, that's why it's called Hatch. You can just see me drawing it now. Again, there's no points for the perspective. It's all by eye.
It's crazy. Your mind's eye is amazing.
Yeah, this is in real time. And I like drawing rocks as well.
Well, I hope so. After you drew the pyramid, for goodness sakes. I would be, I'm surprised though. You'd be like, I now hate rocks.
Well, when I had him, when the pyramid appears, it did cross my mind before I started drawing it that I was going to have to draw it. But then I thought, well, it's another challenge to do, and I think it worked.
Here's the hatch, people. Needs more rocks.
Yeah, I love drawing rocks.
There's the planet.
See, when I draw all around, as you can see, and then the drawing is finished all at the same time. Do you understand what I mean? So when I'm doing a page of comics, I work on all the panels. I'll draw all round, so you finish it. And sometimes I might even start on the third panel.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're not. It's like when you ink. What I do, what I think people should do if they're inking, they should start inking. Say at the third panel, and work all around so you don't start at the top left and the bottom right, because by the time you get to the bottom right, it'll be probably better than the top left. So mix it up, go around.
Interesting.
I don't know what that house is. Nothing to do with me.
The house?
Yeah, there's a house there, isn't there? On that, just go down.
Oh, it's just YouTube recommending videos. Yeah. We're past that. Moving on.
Yes.
We don't know who that is. We're not supporting them. Great, good for them. So here we are, inking patch. How long? We're not gonna watch the whole thing because it's 5 minutes. But oh man, I could watch all your videos. The music is really good.
That's the pencil drawing.
What's that?
That's the pencil drawing.
That you did in the last video.
Sorry?
try to let her. Do-do-do-do-do.
Yeah.
All right. I could watch these start to finish. Just turn them on, and most of the time I'm trying to remember to close my mouth while I'm watching them. Like, all right.
And it goes on just, you know,
I love it.
I like doing it. I think it's great.
Yeah. And there's so much Hatch. Like, you've done so many different versions and different mediums, and
Yeah.
it's great. Oh, here it is. Good Lord. You weren't joking. He's gonna
Nope.
fly. He's gonna fly to come see you and deliver it. Because how many are there of these? Just one, or did she make two?
One.
That's it, and you're willing to give it up.
Well, this is the method in the madness. We don't want to sell it,
Right?
and nobody's bought it, so we've not sold it. So
Right.
it's a win-win. It's win-win. If we don't want to sell it, so we keep it, and if somebody buys it, well, we get to go to America or Japan or whoever buys it, and we'll deliver it to the house. So,
Right.
you know,
And then your wife will have to make another one, just in a different position. So then,
Yeah. and there's also a film of the if you just scroll down a bit,
This
you'll
right
see.
here?
Yeah, just not that one.
Oops.
Look on the other side.
Go
But
back.
that's a full length one. Not sure where it is, but you can. There's one. There's like a full length one where it's unveiled. It's taken out of the kiln.
Here?
This is it. Yeah.
Hold on. Hold on.
This
Grab
is
that.
only 48 seconds.
I don't know what's going on. Hold on. I pushed all the buttons. There we go. Oh, no. Don't drop it.
It's great, isn't it? Look at that.
Beautiful. Did she make any that didn't survive the firing process or anything?
Sorry, say again.
Was this the first attempt that
That was
that
the
you
very
did, and it made it all the way through the process?
yeah. And in the
Amazing.
book, you can see the process of
Yeah.
being made. And
But I know, like, ceramics can go wrong in so many different
Exactly.
ways,
Well-
right? And it's like, you think it's perfect, and then you put it in the kiln, and it comes out in 3 pieces.
that's right, yeah. Well, can you see the treads on his boots?
Yeah.
Well, because he's standing up, you can't see them. So what Helen did, you know, when people like with the baby, they get a print of the baby's hand and the foot.
Yes.
Well, she
Did you
that.
really?
We put,
Look.
we put it on the back.
It's amazing.
So yeah, so the process is all there, and she's written Helen's written what it's all about, you know.
Oh, so cool. It looks like it should be in a museum.
Yeah.
You know?
It should be in somebody's house after I've delivered it. But on the longer film, you'll see the whole thing where we go and open the kiln door properly. You can see it all. It's about 10 minutes long.
Brad, you want to make an investment? You could totally get Hatch delivered to your house.
Yeah.
Amazing. That would be really. What is Thor's hammer doing there?
Well, as you'll learn, he strange things happen to him. So that's one of them. He wakes up and Thor's hammer's there, you know, but he doesn't know what it is. He hasn't got a clue. There's also some little film. I made some little animation of him on the Silver Surfer's board flying along and stuff like that because I see this as an animated character, and I'm working on that now.
Are you going to animate it too?
Well, I wanted to, but I was working. There's a thing called Blender.
Yes. Oh, Blender.
And it's a couple of years now. I was getting into it, and I did these little films of him. But I wanted to animate it. But I think a proper animator should do it. Really.
Yeah. What? We found something that Glenn will not do.
Well, the thing is, get this. When I went to college, when I woke up and went to college, the main thing I wanted to do was animation. It's probably, apart from the little things, it's the only thing I've not done.
Yeah.
Because I was the guy, you know, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, the first full-length animated film. Mm-hmm. There's 2.5 million drawings on that film, and I was the guy who wanted to do all the, but it would take 300 years, you know. So I need to get. I'll probably work with somebody on that. I've got somebody in mind.
Well, this is maybe where the technology can help, like you said, Blender. Yeah. And I'm sure there's, I mean, like just stop motion. Or I don't even know what to call. I don't animate, as you can tell, because I'm not using the terminology correctly. But I know they have like skeletons where they can change the position and then they overlay, the figure over it. And then it's like they walk across the screen because you move the skeleton the way that it's supposed to move.
That's right. Yeah.
So,
well, it's great. Blender's fantastic because you design your character and you have him standing there. Then you put the bones in it.
Yes.
And they bend at the elbow and you do all this and turn his head and. It's fantastic, but again, like I said, I'm not busy. I've not a chance to pick up on it, and I've probably forgotten all about it now. So I probably have to start again. You know,
I got as far as making the donut in Blender.
Right? Yeah.
I made the donut, and then I ran out of time to continue with Blender.
Well, I started sculpting it, and I couldn't do that, so I thought it would be better for me to do drawings that would, and then draw over the top of him and drop the bones in and all that kind of thing. Rather than sculpt him. I found that difficult. So, it'll get there.
But hey, if that works too, that method's great. I haven't figured that out either. That would be really cool to scan in a picture of one of my characters and give him bones and see.
Yeah.
Walk around. I probably should go play around with Blender. I just don't have enough freaking time.
Exactly.
I decided I was going to bind books this year.
Right.
Figure that out. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm gonna bind books. So gotta get back to work. Aw, all right.
See you, Doc.
Doc. Thanks for stopping in.
That's my homage to Norman Rockwell. You've seen that picture of Norman Rockwell.
That's funny. There's so much good stuff on here. All right, so let's go shopping real quick before we run out of time. We've been on here for an hour and 48 minutes, and it felt like 10 minutes. Like it's been no time at all. All right. Here's what you came for. So $35 USD plus some shipping will get you the annotated book.
Mm-hmm.
This is the soft cover, I'm assuming.
Or
is this
I'm not
this
sure
is
which
soft
one
cover.
that was.
It's soft back.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. $150. The one-off unpublished Hatch homage to the great Norman Rockwell. I can't talk anymore. I don't know if I need more coffee or less. Beautiful. So this is a print. This is a print of the original?
No, you get the original. That's a scan. Yeah.
For $150 only?
Well, nobody bought it.
That's a great price, man. $30. Random original sketches. That's cool.
What that is that when Helen's making the dinner, because she's a great cook, so I'll just let her get on with it. I'm drawing on envelopes. sketching while we're talking, and I got in trouble once because I drew Hatch and on a document she had to send back.
Whoops.
So somebody at the local council's got a document with an original drawing of Hatch.
They're like, what? You don't see that every day.
So what I did was she buys me these things. She buys me these little books.
Okay. So
and on the campaign, you can buy one of these books, and it's got all these. It's got just little
cool
little sketches. There's no story. It's just It's just sketches of him.
No, that's super cool. I love when artists do that. My artist Marco does that. He has his sketchbook. He actually made copies of it so people can get copies of his sketchbook when they go to cons. It's really cool. Yeah, I love that because it's
can on this one you can purchase. I've got about 5 of them, but you can purchase one of the original books. It's 100 pages, and you can also buy a printed one.
How much is it? I'm just curious.
I'm not sure what it is. That's the original artwork from a Swamp Gas story, a 5-page story. That's just in with a wash.
Another page, another page, another page, and another page. Here's the $10,000, Brad. Here you go. Yes, here you go. I don't know. Yesterday I had way too much coffee, and I was like collecting information for taxes, and I was like, it was bad. I was pacing around the house. My husband was like, what is wrong with you? And I was like, had too much coffee doing taxes. He's like, okay. He backed away slowly. Like, okay, all right, I'll go that way. Here it is. Here's the $600 hand sketchbook original art. So this is a 100-page ring-bound sketchbook featuring original pencil sketches of our hero. Awesome.
Yeah. Or you can purchase the printed one of the same book.
Gotcha. Oh, here's the hardcover for $45.
Yeah.
Hatch sketchbook, $20. Cool. Limited edition Hatch the Next Day. What's this?
That's the first book.
Okay.
I've got about 20 copies of that, so that's the first one. And I've got the next one, Hatch What's Up, which is the pyramid story.
Mm-hmm.
And that artwork has been ready for 2 years, but I've not put it out yet. I've got to get it out. It's just it's far too long.
2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Glenn.
I've just been doing other things,
I hear you. You're like, I've been busy.
That's a piece of original artwork, and I'm not sure what that piece of artwork there may have been one of the ones that were on Jack Kirby's desk, but I can't remember.
Wow.
And there's a photograph of him with some in his hand. I'm not sure whether that's one of them, but that's one of the original pieces from the 80s.
Yeah. Donate just because you care. Here's the digital sketchbook digital. That's cool. That's cool that you made that an option. And here's the early bird, which I think is over. Is this over? Or can you still get it? It looks like you can still get it.
You can still get it, yeah. You can get it.
Okay. So you can get the hardback with a piece of original art for $95. What a steal.
There you go, you see.
Holy moly. So cool. Wow, I'm scrolling so fast I made it all disappear. Well, the link is in the chat, guys. Please go show Glenn some love. We're going to oh, so many comments. Thank you, everybody in the chat as well. Everybody's been real gracious and hanging out with us. Like, I'm glad you're here, but this was mostly for me. It's great that you're here, but I just wanted to hang out with Glenn, right? Even if you weren't here, I just wanted to hang out with Glenn. But thank you so much for coming on the show. We're coming to that time where you can share your socials. Is there anywhere people can follow?
You can get me on Facebook and the usual place on social media. I'm working on a website. My first website, my original website, was hijacked by a Japanese, how can I say this word, porn site a few years ago.
No.
And I went away and I got a renewal notice, but I was away and I didn't renew my domain name.
Oh.
So when I came back and I went on to renew it, it was gone. So I rang the place, the low cost names, something, LCN. I rang them about it, and they said, "Oh, it's been taken." And I went on it, and it was a porn site, and all the films have got glennbfleming.com at the end. So if you saw that and click on that, but the good news is I think they've dumped it, because I think I can get it back. So
Okay, good.
I'm actually getting it back. But I'm working on a new website in the new years, in the up and coming months. You can see me on Randy Zimmerman's Indie Comics Network a lot.
Oh, cool.
Just Google me. You'll see I'm on Amazon. You can also pick up, I also publish a magazine called Comics Unlimited, which is a 100-page every now and again. It used to be bi-monthly, then it went quarterly, then I got too busy. But number 14 just out, been out about a month now.
Nice.
It's just all articles and things about comics and artwork and stuff like that.
Very
and I'm
cool.
working on number 15 now. So yeah, if you just Google my name or go to Amazon, do both. You'll find everything there. I've got 11 books published on various subjects like football, soccer, as you call it, Kennedy assassination, children's books, space books, science fiction, all kinds of things. I like different disciplines. You see, I like to get around.
You're a Renaissance man.
Yeah, sober's tall. That's why I thought that was pretty neat, so I'll put that in. So there you go.
Well, thank you again for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. It's been good.
Yeah, I had a blast. I look forward to having you on again. As some time goes by, we can chat some more.
Yeah.
And everybody, please go show some love for Hatch on Fund My Comic.
Yeah, he's great. And if you want to buy this Hatch, just remember there's only one. Only one. So in all the universe, this is the only one.
And he's so beautiful. And don't drop him.
No.
Your wife would kill you.
She would.
All right, everybody, that's the show. Join us next week again on a Tuesday morning brew for more comic creators. Make sure that you are kind and good to each other. And don't forget to kiss your babies. We'll see you all next week.
See ya.
Bye.
Make you unashamed, and comics are your estate. Put a little madness in your life. Come give your mind a cleanse. Tune in with pops and friends. Just turn on your ROKU box and then put a little madness in your life. Put a little madness in your life. Yeah, put a little madness in your life.
In a small town, unlike any other, Lisa and her husband Ray were away from home for a long time. The stress of the world brought them back to their homestead to recharge. The entire family is reuniting once again for a time of faith, food, and fun. The whole town is invited. Come join Ray and his family for the feast of a lifetime. Welcome to the picnic. Slaughterville Book 3, The Cannibal Rednecks, is a 66-page, full-color story of love, loss, and family, set in the small town of Slaughterville. Look for it on your favorite crowdfunding platform.
Comic Books for Kids provides comic books to kids in hospitals and cancer centers across the U.S. It's a place where we can all work together to make sure every child has a comic book. 100% of all proceeds go towards the kids. It's about making a difference, and while they're in the hospital, allowing them to fly like a superhero, battle dragons, or rescue teddy bears. We are in every state in the country and now support over 160 hospitals. Every month, we add more.